Now, Wellington could soon become the first place in the country to enforce a 40km/h speed limit across most of the city. It's seen as a way of improving safety for cyclists and pedestrians, but some say serious questions need to be asked, including whether speed actually is the main cause of accidents. Joining me now is the Automobile Association's Motoring Affairs General Manager, Mike Noon. Good morning, Mike.
Kia ora, good morning.
What's prompted this, do you think, in the capital? Why lower the residential speed limit there?
Well, it's a good question, but we don't know the answer, but we would guess it's because in Wellington we've actually had a lot of pedestrians being hit by buses. Interestingly, they're not in the areas that they want to lower the speed limit, so it might be anyone's guess what's brought this rush of enthusiasm to lower the speed at the council.
So do we know what is the most common cause of accidents in Wellington?
Well, we can look at the crash analysis system, and what we will suspect will be the case is that the accidents will be happening where the traffic is densest, which is not in the residential areas where they're looking to lower the speed limits. And we actually need to look at the crashes that do occur in residential areas and see whether those crashes were actually caused by people driving at the current speed limit. We think it's pretty unlikely, to be honest.
Do you know how the 40km/h speed limit compares with speed limits in other cities overseas?
Well, in quite a few cities they have lowered speeds in community areas to 40km/h, particularly in mixed-use areas, and we do that selectively here. Like if you look at Lambton Quay in Wellington, you know, that's a 30k zone. It's the highest pedestrianised zone in New Zealand. There's more pedestrians there than anywhere else in New Zealand, and it's appropriate. But when you do that, you actually change the nature of the road so that it does explain that it's a 30k zone. And if you drive through that area, you'll see that it's not a normal street. It's got different surfaces and trees and things in the middle, those sorts of things. I
was going to say, are there other ways that councils can reduce speed limits in residential areas other than just changing the speed limit?
Well, exactly, because people will drive it the way that the road explains the limit to them. So if you change the environment, then people actually drive to that environment. And the great thing about that is that you don't need enforcement. But I think one of the big things here is we don't know what Wellingtonians think about this idea of lowering residential speeds, and the AA will be surveying our members to see actually what they think, because you know, we do live in a democracy. Hard to guess sometimes, but we do.
Councillor John Morrison says there's an anti-car element in Wellington. Some would describe them, I guess, as tree huggers or greenies. But are cars a reality in small suburban cities like Wellington?
Well, cars are absolutely a reality in New Zealand, and it gets a bit tiresome, this knocking of the cars. And even if you just think about you know, any picture on anything to do with greenhouse gas emissions shows the tailpipe of a car. Well, the reality is if you took everybody's car away from them in New Zealand, so nobody was allowed a car, you'd still have 92% of your greenhouse gas problems. So, you know, proportionately, you know, they're not actually as terrible as everyone tries to make them out, and they certainly enable us to live our lives the way we want to live them.
Just as an aside, it's actually quite difficult to drive at 40km/h, isn't it? Particularly in a manual. It's a bit more than second gear. It's not quite third. A speed limit like this does come with its own set of complications, doesn't it?
Well, it is quite tricky, I think, as well, because people are quite used to driving at a different speed. And of course there's this wild assumption that, look, if everything to do with a crash is to do with speed, if you actually look at the police crash analysis system, poor observation is the most cited cause of crashes. And of course, if you're not paying attention and someone walks out in front of you, you're going to hit them at whatever speed you're travelling. But if you're paying attention and you've got good observation, then you're going to be braking, and the impact would be a lot less. So would be better to have attentive drivers, I think, than be lowering the speed, to be honest.
All right, stay sharp. OK, thanks very much, Mike Noon from the AA. Appreciate your time this morning.